Hi everyone, Vanman here. In the previous challenge run, I experimented with how fast I could beat Pokémon Red and Blue with just a Ponyta, which carried with it some real surprises. Ponyta's high speed and attack stats, in spite of its poor move pool, allowed it to plow through much of the game very quickly, but also meant that there were several enormous roadblocks that we just couldn't seem to overcome, ultimately placing Ponyta in the C tier of Pokémon solo challenges for Gen 1. For today's video, we're going to test how fast we can beat the game with the often overlooked little cousin of the Aberline, Drowzee. Before we dive into the run, if you like what I do and want to help me continue to provide you with quality Pokemon content, be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and ring the bell so you're always up to date on the newest videos. Drowzee was one of my favorite Pokemon as a kid, and since you can capture it as early as the 3rd gym, it was a clear winner to include in my playthrough team all those years ago. Stat-wise, Drowzee is a mixed bag. Its base stat total is quite low, with poor attack and even worse speed. However, Drowzee's saving grace is that its stats are min-maxed to have excellent special. And since in Gen 1, special functions both offensively and defensively, that will obviously serve us to our advantage. Also, Drowzee's Psychic typing functions practically like another stat buff all to itself, because Psychic is easily the most overpowered type in the game. In Gen 1, the Psychic type, for all intents and purposes, had no weakness. Yes, technically Psychic is weak to Bug, but Bug is also the worst type in the game, having the lowest average stats and the worst moves of any other type. And Ghost, which was intended to be super effective against Psychic, was actually glitched in Gen 1 so that Psychic was instead immune to it. And there are also lots of incidental poison types in the Kanto playthrough, giving any Psychic type Pokemon very high sweeping potential. And oh, you know the Ghastly line? You know, the only Ghost type Pokemon line in the game? They're also poison type, making them weak to Psychic. So yeah, while Drowzee is severely lacking in attack, defense, and speed, my prediction is that the type advantage will make up for it. As far as Learn Set is concerned, Drowzee doesn't have anything in the way of type coverage, but it can learn Psychic as early as the 4th gym. Now, having said all that, one of the best ways to succeed in a solo run is to consistently outspeed your opponent, which is something that Drowzee will often fail to do. So needless to say, this run is going to be an interesting one. The purpose of this challenge is meant to serve as a first attempt speed run with the following restrictions. I can only use Drowzee in battle, I can't use any items in battle, I can't use any glitches except the badge boost glitch, I must save before boss battles and then reset if I lose, and finally, I can't use double team, store-bought vitamins, or manipulation of wild encounters. I'll be playing the game at 3 times speed, and for the sake of keeping track of time, I will consider both in-game time and real time as measures of success for this run. Therefore, the final score will be calculated by averaging the 2 times together. Also, the real-time clock will begin after I select the starter from Oak's lab because, for the sake of fairness when comparing Pokemon from one video to the next, I modify the Pokemon to have perfect DVs after I obtain it. As a challenge for the viewer, pause the video and tell me your prediction for Drowzee's final score. So, with all the rules established, let's get started. I begin by altering the game to replace Squirtle with Drowzee, which causes the rival to choose Bulbasaur. Remember when I said earlier that there are lots of incidental poison types, which is one reason why the Psychic type is so powerful in a Kanto playthrough? Well, that applies to Bulbasaur, and indeed most grass types in the game. After acquiring Drowzee, I named it Morpheus after the Greek god of dreams. For the first rival battle, Drowzee doesn't yet know a super effective move, but Bulbasaur nevertheless goes down to a few pound attacks while Morpheus survives in the green. Now, in case you thought that battle would serve as a good omen for what's to come in the near future, let me promptly pop that bubble and let you know that you're sorely mistaken. In these solo runs, different Pokemon really fall into one of 2 categories. Those that can take care of Brock quickly, and those that can't. And, spoiler alert, Drowzee can't. The only attacking move that Drowzee starts with is Pound, and given Drowzee's poor attack stat, coupled with Brock's type resistance and excellent defense stat, Drowzee stands no chance, even at a much higher level. Although I've never attempted this run before, I'm supremely confident that Drowzee defeating Brock prior to learning Confusion at level 17 will be near impossible, so in the interest of saving time, I don't even attempt to do so. But Vanman, I hear you shouting, what about Hypnosis? Couldn't you just put Brock's team to sleep and chip away with Pound? Well, dear viewer, that would be an excellent point if it weren't for the fact that Brock has a total of 5, yes, 5, full heals at his disposal that he will use without discretion if his Pokemon are inflicted with a status condition. Therefore, Hypnosis is entirely impractical, because while yes, Brock would at least waste a turn to administer the full heal, so too would we waste a turn on the Hypnosis to begin with, making the whole exchange totally pointless. So because of that, Drowzee unfortunately opens the run doing nothing but hemorrhaging time while grinding in Viridian Forest. And to make matters worse, Drowzee has such poor attack and Metapod and Kakuna have such great defense that the higher leveled wild encounters still took 3 hits to take down, even with Morpheus as high as level 16. Regardless, after a full 26 minutes, Morpheus finally makes it to level 17 and learns Confusion, after which Brock transitions from being impossible to trivial. In the battle, Geodude is one-shot with Confusion, and Onix is almost a one-shot and manages a Screech before going down to a second Confusion, winning us the Boulder Badge. And as you probably guessed, Morpheus then makes it through Route 4 and Mount Moon in blistering pace because literally every Pokemon along the way is one-shot with Confusion, with the exception of the Super Nerd's Voltorb, which survives on a sliver. Good job, little buddy, you really hung in there. Making it to Cerulean City, it's time to fight rival number 2, and by far the biggest threat on his team is Pidgeotto, since it can use Sand Attack to lower accuracy and also use hard-hitting physical moves to exploit Drowzee's poor defense stat. Fortunately, again thanks to our training in Viridian Forest, we go in slightly over-leveled against the Pidgeotto by 2 points. The strategy is just to spam Confusion, and in the battle, Pidgeotto outspeeds and then gets us to about half health with 2 gusts before going down in 2 hits. Abra can't attack, so it doesn't technically matter which move we use to knock it out, but just to practice good habits, we go for Pound, which is actually more powerful than Confusion against the Abra line because its special is so far superior to its defense. Rattata gets off a quick attack and is then one-shot with Confusion, and then Bulbasaur, with its dual poison typing, didn't stand a chance. Again, the incidental poison typing of so many Pokemon across Nugget Bridge and Route 24, form of Weedle, Nidoran, and Oddish, allow Morpheus to steamroll its way up to Bill's house, where we acquire the SS ticket and escape rope back to Cerulean City to face Misty. My prediction is that her Staryu shouldn't be an issue, but the Starmie, with its dual Psychic typing, resists Confusion, and given its excellent special stat, it actually presents a real threat in the battle. To start, Staryu takes 2 Confusions after getting off a tackle, and against Starmie, because I fear the retaliation attack, we actually go for Hypnosis for the first time in the run. Fortunately, Hypnosis lands and Starmie stays asleep for the rest of the battle, allowing Morpheus to knock it out with 3 headbutts, winning us the Cascade Badge. After defeating Misty, we head to the SSN where we pick up the TM for Body Slam and challenge Rival 3. Against the rival, Pidgeotto goes for the trolling strategy with Sand Attack, causing us to miss one of our Confusions and making it a 3-hit KO instead of 2. Confusion then lands on Raticate and knocks it out, and again, since Kadabra has such low defense and resists Confusion, we go for Body Slam, which lands and then knocks it out. Then finally, Confusion spites the Sand Attack one more time and lands on Ivysaur, knocking it out as well. And now, after getting the HM for Cut, it's time to head to the Vermilion Gym where we complete the Trash Can puzzle and face Surge. In the battle, Voltorb goes down to a couple Confusions with an intermittent tackle that does almost nothing, and Pikachu is one-shot with Body Slam. Raichu then misses Growl and then gets off 2 Thunderbolts before going down to 3 Body Slams. Even despite being slightly over-leveled, it really goes to show how good Drowzee's special stat is that Morpheus survived 2 Thunderbolts in the orange, and could have even survived another one in the red. So although Raichu did fail to attack once, I feel like we still definitely earned that victory. And now, as we dig back to Cerulean City, grab the bike, and make our way through Route 5 and Rock Tunnel leading to Celadon City, I'm almost giddy with anticipation because now we're only moments away from obtaining an enormous power buff to our Pokemon. After completing the shopping errands in the Celadon City Mart where we acquire the drink to give to the Saffron City Guard, we can't make our way to Saffron City fast enough, because therein lies the TM for arguably the most powerful move in the game, Psychic. Once acquiring the TM, I immediately teach it to Morpheus, and I have to say, every time I do a Gen 1 playthrough and teach my Pokemon Psychic, I feel like I'm Gohan when he has his hidden potential unlocked by Guru, because that's effectively what it is. So now that Morpheus knows Psychic, its sweeping capabilities are far greater than what they were. So given that fact, we immediately make our way to the Celadon Gym to face Erica, who will obviously be a cakewalk because of our type advantage. To start, Victreebel outspeeds and then goes for Razor Leaf, dealing about a third. Then Psychic comes very close to knocking it out, then Victreebel goes for Wrap, preventing us from attacking. Then it puts us to sleep with Poison Powder, preventing us from attacking, and then it wraps again, preventing us from attacking. Then it goes for Razor Leaf, which brings us to 2 health. Then we take it out with Psychic, and then Tangela knocks us out with Bind. Okay, well, let's try that again, I guess. This time, Victreebel opens with Wrap, and then poisons us with Poison Powder. Psychic then takes it to a sliver, and then Victreebel again goes for Wrap and prevents us from attacking while we continue to take damage from both Wrap and Poison. And to add insult to injury, Erica even heals Victreebel with a Super Potion while we still can't attack. Then Victreebel brings us to just 4 health with Razor Leaf, and even though Victreebel goes down to a Psychic in the next turn, the writing is on the wall and we faint to poison damage. Right, so let's assess the situation here. The problematic attacks from Victreebel include Wrap, Sleep Powder, Poison Powder, and Vine Whip. Well, that's all of them. So because of that, it looks like I may have been a little too confident before. So at this point, I decide to abandon Erica for the time being and head to rival number 4 instead. And obviously this battle goes a lot smoother. To start, Pidgeotto is one-shot with Psychic, Gyarados is two-shot and doesn't even attack, Kadabra outspeeds and also decides not to attack, and finally Ivysaur is outsped in one-shot, allowing us to win the battle at full health. Next, instead of going back to face Erica, I decide to traverse Cycling Road down to Fuchsia City where we raid Safari Zone of its vitamins and then challenge Koga, who I'm sure will be trivial because of our type advantage. In the battle, Coughing is one-shot with Psychic, Muck is one-shot with Psychic, Coughing is one-shot with Psychic, and Wheezing uses Self-Destruct and knocks us out. Well, that's annoying. Okay, let's try it again. My thinking is that because Wheezing will be a one-shot and we therefore win if it goes for anything other than self-destruct, I'd say the odds are still in our favor to get the victory. So this time, Coughing goes down, Muck goes down, Coughing goes down, and Wheezing knocks us out with self-destruct. Okay, you know what? We're actually not saving any time by attempting this battle over and over again until Wheezing cooperates. Let's just abandon Koga, learn not to be so overconfident in the future, and come back later when we can outspeed the Wheezing so it's not an issue. And at this point, I realized I had actually made a slight mistake because, while I successfully raided Pokemon Tower and Safari Zone for their vitamins, I forgot to do the same in Silphco. So, we complete the raid in Silphco, then head back to Erica to face her at a higher level, which will hopefully make a difference. Now, before I show you the battle, let's talk about the strategy for a moment, because this strategy is actually crucial to our long-term game plan and will therefore come up over and over again during this run. You see, a piece of footage that I didn't show you until now is just after Pokemon Tower before heading down Cycling Road, we took a little pit stop in Viridian City where we talked to this man hiding behind a cut tree who gives us the TM that, even more so than Psychic, will be the real MVP of the remainder of the run, Dream Eater. For those who don't know, Dream Eater is a Psychic type move that has an even higher base power than Psychic itself, and restores the user's HP by half the damage dealt. But the catch is that it will only work if the target is asleep. Now, against Pokemon that we know in advance will deal damage before going down, either because they outspeed or because Psychic isn't enough to one-shot, the correct play will very often be to put them asleep with Hypnosis, and then use Dream Eater to restore our health before facing the next team member in the lineup. Using this strategy, because Dream Eater functions as both an attacking move and a recovering move, Drowzee can often begin each battle with functionally unlimited HP, drastically enhancing its sweeping potential. So, with that explanation out of the way, let's see how we fare against Erica. Employing the Dream Eater strategy against Victreebel, it turns out that it didn't matter anyway because Morpheus is so over-leveled at this point that it outspeeds in one-shots, but this battle is nevertheless proof of concept. Next, we don't bother with Dream Eater against Tangela because it can't really do anything relevant, and we also don't need it against Vileplume because it's one-shot with Psychic, winning us the Rainbow Badge. And now, after Erica, it's time to head to Silphco and face rival number 5, where we really get to put Dream Eater to the test. To start, we know that Pidgeot will outspeed, so we put it to sleep and then sap its HP down to 0, restoring our HP and allowing us to go into Gyarados at full health. Against Gyarados, the same concept applies and we put it to sleep after it attacks with Hydro Pump, which does miss, but wouldn't have mattered even if it hit because Morpheus would have restored its health anyway. Now, in this particular fight, we do also see the downside of this strategy, which is that when we use it against an opponent that outspeeds, and most of them will, they always have a chance to wake up after we've already committed to Dream Eater for that turn, rendering it ineffective. Then, because Gyarados is at such low health, we opt for Psychic this time since Dream Eater wouldn't recover that much health anyway, and Gyarados gets off a Dragon Rage before going down. For Growlithe, in hindsight I should have gone for Dream Eater to restore some more health, but I instead choose Psychic, which requires 2 hits. And now, this battle with Alakazam turns out to be really awkward. It outspeeds and fails with Disable, then we go for Body Slam, then it goes for Disable again, which lands and disables Body Slam, so we go for Psychic, which does almost nothing, but not before Alakazam recovers to almost full health. Then Alakazam gets off a few very weak Psybeams while we continue to miss with Hypnosis. Then finally Hypnosis lands and we use Dream Eater until it goes down. Well, we definitely took the scenic route on that one, but at least it worked. And then lastly, Venusaur is one-shot with Psychic. And now, I'm honestly kind of torn because I know you're supposed to show all the boss battles in these videos, But is there even any point to commentating for Giovanni anymore? I mean, I'll show you the fight, here it is, but is anyone surprised? We spammed Psychic and finished the battle in the green. Awesome, we did it. Up next, we head to Fuchsia City to attempt Koga again at a slightly higher level. I'm really hoping the higher level will allow Morpheus to outspeed and one-shot the Wheezing this time. Let's see. To begin, down goes Coughing, Muck, and Coughing, and Wheezing outspeeds and one-shots with Self-Destruct. Are you kidding me? Okay, well, at this point, I was just tired of giving up and coming back, so let's try one more time. I mean, literally, all we have to do is avoid Self-Destruct and then we win. Fortunately, in the next battle, Wheezing finally goes for something else in the form of Smog, which even misses, and then surprisingly, Psychic still isn't even a one-shot. Then, for yet another surprise, we were actually at a speed tie with the Wheezing at this level, because in the next turn, we go first and finish the Wheezing with a final Psychic, winning us the Soul Badge. Well, an odd battle, but a victory nonetheless. And now, the next two items on the agenda are Sabrina and Blaine, and since Blaine's Pokemon tend to be much easier to defeat, despite occurring after Sabrina in the badge order, we surf to Cinnabar Island and challenge him first. In the battle, Growlithe doesn't attack, but does get off a Leer, which is actually a good thing because it badge boosts our special. Against Ponyta, we actually get our first Gen 1 miss of the run, and Ponyta traps us in Fire Spin. In Gen 1, by the way, an oversight in the code makes it so that even moves with 100% accuracy have a 1 in 256 chance to miss. Just one of Gen 1's many quirks, and just one more reason why we love it so much. Anyway, Psychic crits and one-shots Ponyta on the next turn. Now, because the Pokemon with the words Rapid and Dash in its name will obviously outspeed, and because we're at less than full health, we attempt Dream Eater, but unfortunately Stomp causes us to flinch twice in a row, taking us to a lowly 1 HP. Because of the less than perfect accuracy on Hypnosis, I figured we couldn't risk another one, so we go for Psychic instead. Psychic then two-shots Rapidash, with Rapidash missing both of its next two attacks. Then, in full Blaine fashion, he opts for a full health Super Potion on Arcanine, but our HP is still low enough that Ember on the next turn is enough for the KO. In the next attempt, we again outspeed Growlithe and take it down with a critical hit Psychic. Against Ponyta, it turns out that the badge boost is why we outsped in the previous battle, because Ponyta goes first this time and attacks with Fire Spin and then Stomp, bringing us to about 2/3, after which it goes to orange health from Psychic. Then Ponyta growls, again badge boosting us, and then goes down to another Psychic. Against Rapidash, the Dream Eater strategy is successful this time, meaning we get to go into Arcanine with full health. We then spam Psychic while Arcanine spams Fire Blast. Now, both Psychic and Fire Blast would have been 3-hit KOs, except that Arcanine's final Fire Blast misses, allowing the final retaliatory Psychic from Morpheus to knock it out, winning us the Volcano Badge. Next on the docket is Sabrina. And you might think that this fight would be a total grind fest since her Pokemon and our Pokemon mutually resist one another, but the one factor that will tip the battle in our favor is that we have a strong physical move that can exploit their low defense stat, but they don't have the same to deal to us in return. To prove my point, we go for Body Slam against Kadabra, which takes 2 hits, and you can see how little Kadabra deals in return with Psychic. Then Mr. Mime takes 2 Body Slams with an intermittent Double Slap, and now, since we'd prefer to go into Alakazam at full health, we Hypnosis and one-shot Venomoth with a super effective Dream Eater. Then, Alakazam makes a very bizarre decision and spams Recover for the entire battle, even on turn 1. And with Body Slam doing just over half damage every time, this would have taken forever, except that Body Slam eventually paralyzes, allowing Morpheus to outspeed and take it down, winning us the Marsh Badge. And finally, in the last gym battle of the playthrough, it won't surprise you that Morpheus had no issue with Giovanni's team, and one-shot everything with Psychic except Rhydon, which was a 2-shot, winning us the Earth Badge. So now, we've defeated all 8 gym leaders in fairly short order, but as you likely know, now comes the real test of the strength of a Pokemon in a solo playthrough. The next 6 battles, form of the Rival, the Elite Four, and the Champion, are all consistently far more challenging than the gym leaders, and currently Morpheus is only at level 46, compared to many other Pokemon in the upper 50s and low 60s. So, while yes, we have our strategy for victory in place, it's still going to be a far from trivial matter to achieve that. So, once the gym challenges are over, we heal up and make our way across Route 22 where we take on the Rival. To start, Pidgeot opens with Whirlwind, which has no effect in battle, then survives on a sliver of health after a Psychic. Then, it deals about 1/3 with Wing Attack before being taken out with Body Slam. To heal up in preparation for Gyarados, we use Dream Eater against Rhyhorn, which is 1-shot and then brings us back up to full health. Facing Gyarados, I thought it would be a 2-shot with Psychic, but it's actually 3, with Gyarados attacking us with Bite and then Dragon Rage. Fortunately, the Rival uses a potion on the last turn, preventing the Gyarados from attacking. Against Growlithe, I again decide to heal up and we go for Dream Eater, which brings us back to green health. Alakazam then hits us with Psybeam, which does very little, and then we take it to just over half with Body Slam. Then it goes for Reflect, meaning that our next several Body Slams are not doing nearly as much, but we do manage a clutch paralysis so we can outspeed. It then recovers and goes for Psybeam, and normally Alakazam would be able to lock us out of the battle by recovering more health than it's losing, but fortunately it gets fully paralyzed on the last turn, meaning we can outspeed and then take it out with one final Psychic. Then, against Venusaur, 2 super effective Psychics are enough to take it down with no issue. Now, to kick off the Elite Four, we have Lorelei. And at this point, I'm pretty agnostic as to how well this battle is going to go. All of her Pokemon have excellent stats, meaning that either Psychic or Dream Eater will require several hits to take them down. And because Lapras will outspeed, it can easily take us out with Hydro Pump before we have time to set up. To prepare for Lorelei, I go ahead and feed all my rare candies to Morpheus, which brings it to level 55. Against Dewgong, because it's programmed to always rest on turn 2, my plan is to wait until it falls asleep on its own accord and then hit it with Dream Eater. However, I was surprised to learn that we actually outspeed the Dewgong, allowing Psychic to bring it to just over half, after which it deals about a fifth with Aurora Beam. Then, I was also surprised to learn that apparently the code for Dewgong prioritizes a potion if it's in sufficiently low health, even if that means sacrificing the turn 2 rest. So now, because it's in range for another Psychic, that's what we go with and take it down. Cloyster, despite having phenomenal defense, has mediocre special and goes down to a couple Psychics without attacking. Next, I was pretty confident we would outspeed the Pokemon with the word slow in its name, so I decided to use Dream Eater to heal up in preparation for Jinx, after which Slowbro wakes up and then goes down to a final Psychic. Since Jinx has so much worse defense than special, we go for Body Slam, which is just shy of being a 2-hit KO, allowing Jinx to hit us with a couple double slaps before going down. Against Lapras, I thought Psychic might be a 2-shot, but Psychic only deals about a third damage, after which Lapras retaliates with Body Slam, bringing us to about half health. The next Psychic brings Lapras into the red, which means Lapras doesn't attack due to a Super Potion, allowing us to knock it out with one final Psychic. I gotta tell you, that battle was a nail-biter for me. If Lapras had gone for a couple Hydro Pumps, or if Cloyster had gone for Aurora Beam or Clamp, that would have been more than enough to get the loss on that one. And there's no telling how many times we would have had to face against Lorelei otherwise. But we made it, and now we're on to Bruno. And would you believe that Bruno is actually a lot tougher this time than usual? No? Well, good, because he's not. We have the obvious type advantage against his fighting-type Pokemon, and the 2 Onixes have very poor special as well. Funny enough, the most challenging aspect of this fight is that I forgot to restore the power points for Psychic beforehand, meaning we had to resort to Dream Eater a couple times, but that's about the only snag we came across for this one. Now, against Agatha, we have the type advantage, but what her team lacks in typing, it makes up for by outspeeding and inflicting status conditions in the form of Sleep, Confusion, and Poison, all of which make both Psychic and Hypnosis, especially given its less than perfect accuracy, less viable than they would otherwise be. Against the first Gengar, it outspeeds and then puts us to sleep with a Hypnosis of its own, after which we get lucky and then wake up right away. Gengar then uses Dream Eater, which does nothing, and then goes to red health from Psychic. Then, Agatha goes for a Super Potion, allowing one more Psychic to take it down. Golbat and Haunter both outspeed but then choose not to attack and are both one-shot with Psychic. Then, Arbok outspeeds and deals about a quarter with Acid, which gets a clutch defense drop, badge boosting both our special and our speed, and then it goes down to a Psychic as well. But alas, our now boosted speed is still not enough to outspeed the second Gengar, and it opens with a Confuse Ray, after which we hit ourselves in Confusion twice, allowing Gengar to bring us into red health with Nightshade. We then retaliate with Psychic, which brings Gengar into Super Potion range, allowing one final Psychic to get the job done. And just like Lorelei from before, we got lucky this time, but obviously that battle could have gone much differently. If the first Gengar, for example, decided to also behave like the second Gengar, that definitely would have been a reset. But regardless, we can now make our way to Lance, who I predict will see the most Dream Eaters out of any battle so far. Or at least that's our strategy going in. Because since his team members have such devastating moves as Hydro Pump and Hyper Beam, I predict we'll need to heal up to prepare for just about every Pokemon in the lineup. To start, Gyarados outspeeds and then goes for Dragon Rage, after which we go for Psychic, which deals just under half. Then, after another Dragon Rage, to mitigate damage, we go for Dream Eater, bringing us back up to green health. Then, to prevent the risk of Gyarados neutralizing Dream Eater by waking up, we instead go for Body Slam to finish it off. The first Dragonair takes 2 Psychics with an intermittent Dragon Rage, and then we use the next Dragonair to heal up with Dream Eater. Aerodactyl then deals about a quarter with Bite and then goes into orange health from Psychic, but then a critical hit Hyper Beam is more than enough to knock us out. We then go on to fight Lance several more times, during which I quickly discover that the key to victory in this battle is a matter of using just the right mix of Psychics and Dream Eaters. So we spend the next several attempts at Lance to experiment in finding exactly what that mix is. The issue, however, is that Gyarados, Aerodactyl, and Dragonite all outspeed, meaning that any critical hit is enough time to knock us out before we have time to set up, and meaning that they can easily retaliate after a Hypnosis miss, which, being 60% accurate, happens 40% of the time. So, Psychic results in a more reliable knockout, but using Psychic also means that we go into the next team member at lower health. And it turns out that the calculus of finding just the right permutation of which attacks to use at what time was more difficult than what I anticipated, requiring a grand total of 8 failed attempts before we finally got a successful run. In the final attempt, we use exclusively Dream Eater against Gyarados, and then use Psychic against the first Dragonair, who retaliates with a critical hit Hyper Beam. Then, because it has to recharge, we put it to sleep and sap its remaining health with Dream Eater. We then go for Dream Eater against the next Dragonair as well, taking it into red health. And now, something happens that was actually quite common in all these repeated battles. Lance actually does us a favor by healing Dragonair with a Hyper Potion, which then gives us another bite at the apple for healing our own HP before taking it down. Aerodactyl then confuses us with Supersonic before falling asleep to a Hypnosis, and even though we do hit ourselves in confusion one time, a critical hit Dream Eater is still enough to one-shot it and bring us back up to full health going into Dragonite. Against Dragonite, we spam Psychic and Dragonite spams Hyper Beam. The first Hyper Beam misses, and even though the second one hits, the recharge turn allows us to knock out the Dragonite and make our way to the champion. My prediction is that the champion battle will go fairly well because his team isn't really that much different from the previous rival battle, which wasn't an issue. But his team is at a much higher level now, so let's see how it goes. To begin, I know the Pidgeot will outspeed, but I also know it won't be able to deal that much damage when it does, so to prepare for what's to come, we let it hit us with Wing Attack and then restore our health with Dream Eater, followed by a Psychic to finish it off. Against Alakazam, as usual, considering its low defense, we go for Body Slam, but it mitigates that by first outspeeding and using Reflect. The first Body Slam paralyzes, which in this case is actually a double-edged sword because it means that we outspeed the Alakazam, and the Alakazam may not attack, but it also takes Hypnosis off the table. We then go for a couple Psychics and Alakazam heals with Recover. Then, I experimented to see if Body Slam would deal more than Psychic, and it's about the same, so we spam Body Slam and Alakazam spams Psychic for the rest of the battle until Alakazam goes down. Next, since I know Rhydon poses no threat, we use Dream Eater to heal up to green health going into Gyarados. In hindsight, we probably should have gone for Dream Eater against Gyarados, but we instead go for Psychic, which is only a 2-shot since the first one got a special drop, and Gyarados hits us with Dragon Rage before going down. Against Arcanine, Psychic is also a 2-shot with Arcanine not dealing any damage in return, and now I'm confident that we've won due to the type advantage against Venusaur, and indeed, one final critical hit Psychic is enough to win the battle and make us champion of the Pokémon League. Results: Drowzee finished the game in 4 hours and 54 minutes game time, 1 hour, 50 minutes, and 20 seconds real time, for an average score of 3 hours and 22 minutes. Conclusion: Drowzee's greatest strength is that, simply put, it's a pure Psychic-type Pokémon in Generation 1, and because of this fact, at no point in the run was any opponent able to exploit a type advantage, meaning that even the small handful of hurdles that Drowzee did encounter were far from insurmountable. Also, even despite that the Drowzee line has weaker stats than the Abra line, the Drowzee line is unique in that it is the only non-legendary pure Psychic type in the game that can learn either Hypnosis or Dream Eater, thus granting Drowzee the ability to remain underleveled and still go toe-to-toe with an entire team of powerful Pokémon, primarily due to its ability to heal in between team members. In spite of all that, however, the two factors that prevented Drowzee from doing better than it did were its lost time grinding in Viridian Forest to learn Confusion against Brock, and the fact that Drowzee is both slow and frail. In most scenarios, healing from Dream Eater was enough to overcome this, but Drowzee still had a hard time getting past a small handful of especially hard-hitting Pokémon, such as Victreebel, Weezing, and Aerodactyl. It's also worth noting here that during this playthrough I did make some mistakes, such as facing Erika and Koga at inopportune times, and being forced to experiment over when to use Dream Eater versus Psychic against Lance. Therefore, this run in particular I'm sure could be substantially improved with practice and optimization. But our tier list is nevertheless based on the first attempt only, and as such, the obviousness of each decision point in the run should also be taken into consideration. Given Drowzee's advantageous typing and powerful moveset, despite its poor defensive stats, and given its final score of over 3 hours, Drowzee has earned its place firmly in the B tier of Pokémon solo challenges for Gen 1. Considering Drowzee is one of my favorite Pokémon from my childhood, running the game with Drowzee was especially exhilarating this time around, and I'd like to personally thank all of the viewers for joining me on such an awesome adventure together. There are plenty more challenges lined up for the future, so if you'd like to get in on the action, leave a comment to let me know which Pokémon you'd like to see. And if you want to support our community and motivate me to continue improving my skill, please also like and subscribe so you never miss another video. We're currently on the road to our first 1,000 subscribers, so anything you can do to contribute toward that goal is always sincerely appreciated. See you next time, everyone. Take care.